Hello guys, Chris here and welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, we are gonna be testing the GeForce RTX 4070. This is not the 4070, alright? This is way too big to be a 4070. I'm pleased to announce that the RTX 4070 is very small. Just how she likes it. Or at least I like to believe that. But look at the size difference between the 4080 right here and the 4070. It is insane. There's the thick boy, huge, and it won't fit in many cases. Well, this will actually fit in a ton of cases. That's awesome to see. But what other good things does the 4070 hide beneath this beautiful cute cooler? Let's find out. The RTX 4070 is based on the Ada Lovelace architecture like the other 40 series cards. It has 5,888 CUDA cores, just like its predecessor, the RTX 3070, and unlike its predecessor, it isn't VRAM starved, at least not for now. I hope. It comes with 12GB of GDDR6X VRAM with a 192-bit memory bus and a bandwidth of 504GB per second. It has 184 tensor cores, 46 ray tracing cores. It supports AV1 encoding, which is great for streamers and content creators. And this is a great one, it consumes 200 watts of power. It's actually power efficient, my friends. We got a new GPU that doesn't consume more than 250 watts. How crazy is that? And surprisingly, it's quite rare to see it reach 200 watts of power usage. Usually, it's between like 170 and 190 watts. Finally, it will release tomorrow for $599 MSRP. And I really hope it actually sells for MSRP, you know? That price is $100 more expensive than the MSRP of the RTX 3070. And it's the same MSRP as the RTX 3070 Ti, which, in my opinion, shouldn't have existed in the first place. So, $599, it's not a particularly good price for a 70 SKU card. You know, the 1070 days are over, but it's not too bad, in my opinion. I was expecting worse, at least. So, if it performs well at 1440p especially, I think it might be a pretty compelling option. Let's find out in the 17 games that I tested today, shall we? First up, let's play Cyberpunk 2077 at 1440p resolution using the Ray Tracing Ultra preset. I'm gonna disable DLSS first. It comes on by default, and I highly recommend you to enable DLSS when using RT. But, you know, just for curiosity, high crowd density right here. Start counting our FPS. And it is completely terrible, like 30 frames per second. I mean, if you lock it to 30, it might very well be playable, but this is not what you want out of a card like this, obviously. This is just for a little bit of fun here, okay? Where is Bob, by the way? Bob is always here. Did he run away already? Wait a second. I think I saw somebody. Yeah, sneaky bastard running away, Bob. Who the heck do you think I am? I'm gonna get you, boy. This is not ideal, definitely, and ray tracing was meant to be played with DLSS anyways, or FSR, so yeah, let's enable that, okay? I'm gonna set it to quality, which is not the auto preset. The auto is actually balanced here, and this makes the game look a bit better, in my opinion, than native resolution, because it's slightly sharper, and it's not more shimmery or anything, or blurrier. That's because the native resolution actually comes with baked-in TAA, and that makes the picture a little bit softer than I'd like. So, yeah, DLSS gets rid of that softness, and it ends up looking quite good here in Cyberpunk 2077. I think I, myself, would play the game like this with the RTX 4070. It delivers 60 plus, like 95% or 97% of the time. There will be a couple of drops in really intensive scenarios, but I don't really mind that too much. Okay, I like it. And this is with ray tracing and without frame generation. If we enable frame generation, it's probably gonna go crazy in terms of FPS. Why did you set it to auto? I want quality anyways. Thank you. FG is enabled now, and yeah, alright, getting close to 100 frames per second in one of the most intensive areas in the game. And it's a little bit weirder. I would say it looks close to native resolution now, maybe a little bit softer at the distance. You can see a bit more aliasing as well because of that frame generation. But I mean, you do get 100 frames per second. And yeah, I guess that's the 4070 experience in Cyberpunk 2077. It can play it absolutely fine with RT at 1440p. 100 FPS with a frame generation is quite nice to see indeed. Oh, sweet. These FPS are actually quite good, guys. This is Call of Duty Warzone 2. And we are playing it at 1440p resolution using the Extreme Graphics preset. The only thing I changed here is depth of field. I turned it off down here, alright? I don't like the effect. And over here we're using 115 FOV. I'm gonna go to the Zarqwa Hydroelectric as usual, one of the most intensive areas in the entire game because of the water. And we have arrived. Let's start counting our FPS. 1% lows are gonna be pretty low, but that's normal here in Call of Duty Warzone 2. That's just because that frame time is never smooth for some reason. I just don't know. Anyway, this is where it drops the most, and it drops into the lower 80s. So you can definitely play this game competitively with the RTX 4070, even if you want to make the game look pretty on extreme settings. Now, it feels a little bit stuttery because of that frame time graph going crazy all over the place there. But that's just the game itself on extreme settings. That happens, and there's nothing you can do about it. Let's go down here now, near the water again, dropping into the 80s again. Basically, the water is the most intensive thing, of course. And now, in this area, it should jump up. Yeah, 120s, probably 130s maybe. Finally, at the end of my benchmark run, we got a little bit of a forest area with vegetation, which is also a little bit intensive compared to other areas in the map, and it drops into the lower 90s, higher 80s at times. So, not a problem here in Warzone 2, you can play it on extreme if you want to. But I'm gonna enable DLSS on quality next and see what it's capable of now. In this game, DLSS quality doesn't look anywhere near native resolution. Native res was really soft, but DLSS is like over sharpened. You could lower the sharpening a little bit, but it doesn't really look all that great. But here we are in the water again. It jumped from 80 to 115 plus basically. That's a really big jump in performance. But again, you sacrifice a little bit of quality there. Now we have a poorly optimized piece of crap called The Last of Us Part 1. And this one... Okay, we're playing this one at 1440p resolution, native at the moment, no DLSS, and the Ultra settings preset. So the game is maxed out at the moment, basically, alright? This game looks very good on Ultra settings, by the way. It doesn't look as good on, like, high and medium. Especially medium looks like crap, basically, but Ultra is the way to go if you have the horsepower to run it. And apparently, the 4070 here can definitely push 60 plus 100% of the time in The Last of Us Part 1. Now, there is a slightly more intensive area that I've come across after we go inside and kill a bunch of people. And that's where I've seen the FPS dropping the most in this game. So I'm just gonna play it through for now, gather some averages. So far, so good. For a single-player title, you only need 60 FPS in my opinion. Also, interestingly, this game is not stuttering too much. Ooh, 61 FPS right there, by the way. It's dropping a lot here, but still no drops from 60. Also, DLSS in this game doesn't look fantastic, so I'm not really gonna test it out here in this one. Maybe for a later video that I test separately with a lot of different settings in The Last of Us. I feel like this is the way to go, especially if it doesn't drop around here, which is that most intensive area that I've come across so far. I've played for about like 10 hours already. Okay, so it's dropping. Look at that, 58 FPS. Nothing that an overclock wouldn't offset, but it's interesting to see it drop from 60. Okay, let's try something that's actually well optimized. Forza Horizon 5 at 1440p using TAA, because it looks better than these two right here in this game. Only in this game, okay? Using extreme settings preset, as you can see. And the reason why we're not utilizing DLSS today is because at 1440p native, it's already a buttery smooth, completely flawless experience. Look at those FPS. See this, 2023 developers, you can have good looking games that run at hundreds of frames per second on good GPUs. It's always very refreshing to come back to Forza Horizon 5 and see how good it performs. All right, there we go. Jump. Can it be faster, please? Okay, there we go. What the hell? All right, 140s. Yeah, this area is not really that intensive anyways. We're going to go to the city and see how much it drops to there. Look at this. Now, 120s. Starting to get slightly CPU bound over here, by the way. Getting 90-something, like 91% GPU usage at times. Now, the most intensive area in the entire game, believe it or not, is a tunnel. Inside of the tunnel it drops, but getting out of the tunnel it just gets wrecked. 90-something FPS is what you get in minimum or worst case scenarios. Next is Apex Legends. We're playing this one at 1440p using maximum settings, aside from this one right here, which I can't set to maximum for some reason. It always sets itself back to very high. And looking at the entire map, we're getting like 190s, 180s, 200s at times. Look at that. Anyway, let's start counting the FPS. I really... What the hell? Is that guy bugged? Okay, I really wanted to go there because it's the most intensive area in this game. Like, it drops like crazy around here compared to other parts. So it's getting like 130s minimum. Ooh, I'm managing to avoid these people. No. All right, let's go down there then. Okay. All right. Oh boy, stop spotting me through the walls and everything, like with sonars and stuff. That's so unfair. Damn it. Okay. At least we're seeing a lot of like the map, so that's great, right? I am really low HP at the moment. Also, if you want a more competitive experience than this, I think on low settings it would probably get like 200 plus all of the time. Because this is really, really high. I was expecting it to be a little bit slower here in Apex Legends. But again, it's just because we've been testing games that are either too intensive and broken, like The Last of Us, or with ray tracing. Okay, this is a good spot for us to test out our ultimate with a lot of explosions. It's really intensive. Okay. I'm probably gonna die with it, but I don't care. I just want to see the lowest FPS possible. 117 is the lowest. I mean, you can barely notice the drops, honestly, even with all of those explosions. Who is gonna complain about this? This is flawless in Apex Legends. Now it's Battlefield 2042 at 1440p using the ultra settings, no DLSS first. And in this game, I actually prefer to have DLSS enabled because... seriously, as I was saying, I prefer to have DLSS enabled in this game because it basically looks the same or slightly better than native resolution. It's just that the native res in this game also has that forced TAA, which I don't really like. That's a freaking robot dog. Gosh, I hate those so much. Anyways, as I was saying, it's because at native resolution we got that forced TAA in this game, which doesn't look great whatsoever in my opinion. Alright, let's get these two guys. Good stuff. Oh, we got double XP or whatever going on right here. XP boost. That's nice. Okay. So yeah, I think it looks a little bit cleaner with the DLSS, so I prefer that. But if you prefer the native resolution, well, you can still run the game absolutely fine. It feels buttery smooth, probably because I am running it on 120 Hz this time around with my capture card. Hopefully, it's recording everything just fine. I'm not sure. Oh! Okay, there we go. And enabling DLSS on quality puts us at 120, so we gain 20 frames. George, it's the robot dog Jack again. I call it Jack, by the way, for those of you who don't know. I want to start counting the frames. No more 80s here. It's getting hundreds. Basically now instead of 120 or 100 FPS, you're going to see 140 and 120, which is insanely good. All right. This is very, very nice. You know what else is great about DLSS? It lowers the power usage of your GPU a little bit as well. Even at 99% usage, it consumes just a tad bit less power. The 4070 Ti and the 4070 over here especially is just amazing in terms of efficiency, dude. This kind of performance with 170 watts of usage is insane. Now we have Spider-Man Remastered at 1440p using TAA. No DLSS or frame generation are enabled, by the way. Very high settings preset, which is the maximum settings preset. It's not set to the maximum though. Ray tracing is turned off. And look at those FPS. Just that is completely crazy and insane. I was expecting it to be way worse here. Like 160s, 150s. It's actually starting to be a little bit CPU bottlenecked at the moment. Down here, near the crowd, you can see the GPU usage is fluctuating a little bit. You are likely going to be CPU bound. If you don't have a top-of-the-line CPU or like an i5-13600K overclocked, you are going to see less than 99% GPU usage very often and probably see lower FPS values as well. But, you know, this is what the GPU can do. 99%, 100 plus FPS, 100% of the time. That is insane. And it's a very beautiful game as well. Even without RT, like those reflections, they are looking pretty nice, aren't they? However, if you enable ray tracing, obviously things are going to be a bit worse. Mostly on the CPU side of things. I'm going to do it right here. So ray tracing is now turned on high, and you can see the reflections there are now accurate to the scene behind us. Yeah. And the FPS are still super high. Like, what the hell? I thought it was going to drop like crazy, dude. What? It only dropped about like 20 FPS, maybe 30 at times. It's a little bit more CPU bound as well, as I told you. Ray tracing is super intensive on the CPU as well as the GPU. But it is still super playable. And this is native resolution. We're not using any FSR or DLSS. What if we... I'm just really curious at the moment, guys. What if we enable DLSS frame generation? I'm not enabling DLSS. This is frame generation over the native resolution, okay? And it gives us 100 FPS. Okay, not a major jump in performance. You actually gotta enable DLSS as well to see a big jump in performance, I guess. DLSS super resolution quality. Continue. Yeah, that's it. See that? Now we're seeing 120s, 130s with ray tracing. If we disable ray tracing, it would be in the 200s, I think, guys. This is awesome. This is just an awesome experience, an awesome looking game at the same time. Well-optimized games are the best. Can we just stop buying crap like The Last of Us, please? Now we have Fortnite Battle Royale with the Unreal Engine 5.1. It looks really good at 1440p using DirectX 12 and the epic settings, 100% resolution scale, no DLSS, and the ray tracing is enabled. As you can see, real-time ray traced reflections are set to epic as well. And well, we're seeing 50-something FPS around here. That is not really that great. But you have the option of utilizing DLSS in this game, which looks amazing. It's like the same as native resolution on quality because it works really well with the art style of Fortnite, and that puts us over 60, well over 60, in the 70s. Even getting 80s at times. So if all you want is that ray tracing experience at 1440p, the 4070 can definitely provide that. It's really beautiful, guys. Like, Fortnite these days is one of the best looking games out there. You can see pretty much everything through the reflections. On high, for example, it would look a lot worse, by the way. I have played it on high a lot of times already with other GPUs, and I can say that the reflections are like probably less than half of their resolution and epic. Obviously, if you don't really care about the visuals in this game, which a lot of people don't, you can also play it at like low settings. It will achieve around 300 frames per second, even more than that if your CPU is strong enough. So yeah, Fortnite has no issues here as long as you use DLSS, even with ray tracing at 1440p. Oh damn, this is actually super good. So we're playing Red Dead Redemption 2 at 1440p, and I pushed the slider all the way up to the right. I only disabled motion blur and that's it. It's still not max settings, okay, but I would say it's ultra settings. Some things are still on medium or on high, but this is actually super buttery smooth, dudes. I was expecting a little bit worse performance. We're not even utilizing DLSS at the moment. And I'm not going to utilize DLSS because this is how you should play this game. DLSS in this game doesn't really look anything special, I would say. So these are the settings that I would use here. No need to like optimize or do hardware unboxed settings, which are great and will give you more FPS. But here you can just max out that slider, play on ultra settings, and it's gonna look amazing and play amazing at the same time. Look at those frames, dude. It's beautiful. The weather here today in this video is just absolutely magnificent. I love it here in Red Dead Redemption 2. This is flawless, dude. It's never gonna drop from 60 FPS with a 4070 in these settings. Holy crap. Kind of makes me want to play this game right now. Wow. But unfortunately, we gotta stop it right there. We've seen a couple of different scenarios already. Jesus, what is wrong with you, Roach? What are you doing? Now it's Hogwarts Legacy, and we're playing this one at 1440p using Nvidia DLAA as the anti-aliasing mode, which looks way better than TAA, and it actually performs a little bit better than TAA High. And down here I turn these off because I don't like the effects. Over on the advanced settings, we're using the recommended Ultra Settings preset without ray tracing. I really don't recommend ray tracing in this one, by the way. And around Hogsmeade, which is the town where we are located at the moment, well, it is a little bit CPU bound. You can see a bit of fluctuation there in the GPU usage department. So we're being limited just slightly by our CPU, but it doesn't really get much better than this, honestly. It's just that this area of the game is completely broken. Now, the town over there was the most CPU-intensive area of the game. That doesn't mean that it's the most GPU-intensive. If you don't have a CPU bottleneck, you will see less FPS in areas like this one. Near water and a lot of vegetation, things can drop by a lot. And it is dropping into the 60s, like mid-60s at times. It is a perfectly reasonable experience, though. I was expecting maybe slightly better over here, especially. Not in Hogsmeade, though. But yeah, you can rest assured it's going to be a flawless experience in Hogwarts Legacy. If you lock the FPS to 60, by the way, is the best option to play this game with. So you saw how the frame time graph was a little bit crazy at times with a few spikes and stuff. I'm going to limit it to 60 FPS, the scanline sync as well, so we don't have a lot of tearing. And now you can see...
This place has seen better days.
That this place has seen better days. No, but yeah, it is a really, really stable experience right now. All Hogwarts Legacy needs is an FPS cap, and you will be experiencing this buttery smoothly, basically. There are still a couple of small spikes in the frame time graph. Oh boy, I gotta say, I am really impressed with Dying Light 2's performance. At 1440p with DLSS enabled on quality, frame generation is turned off, but DLSS actually looks better than native resolution in this game, because native res, again, is really soft in this one. And over on the advanced settings, we're using the high quality ray tracing preset. And I tried it first just on high without ray tracing. It was getting like 150 FPS with DLSS quality. Then I tried it with ray tracing, not the high quality ray tracing preset, just ray tracing preset. And it was getting 130 FPS. And, well, I settled for high quality ray tracing because it's still getting well above 60 frames per second. This is insane performance. Also, I'm sorry about the weather here. It's awful, I know, but I slept for like 3 nights straight and it was still awful. So I just figured, well, let's just run with it. It's a little bit more intensive than like clear skies also. Damn it! Oh, that jump was terrible. No. Get out of here. Get out of here, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, how are we gonna do this? I really want to go in that direction. No, stop it. Stop it. Thank you. Alright, good thing we got a really nice weapon here. Also, Zero Stutter's VRAM usage is at 6 gigabytes. Using ray tracing. See what's wrong with the new, like, Last of Us and stuff like that. These textures, well, they don't look very good. They kind of look like the Last of Us textures. And they're using, like, half as much VRAM. So, yeah. Not a problem. If you want to play Dying Light 1 or 2, like, oh my god, they're gonna run buttery smooth, like 1% lows off 80. That's awesome, dude. Next up is Elden Ring. We're playing it at 1440p with medium ray tracing, maximum settings, and the motion blur turned off. And we're getting flat 60 FPS because the game is actually kept to 60 frames per second. I was seeing around 50 to 55% utilization on the GPU before I enabled ray tracing, if you're wondering. And then I enabled ray tracing, and that GPU is starting to get a little bit more utilized, as you can see. It also looks a little bit better. Also, the stuttering issues is from the game itself. It's installed on an SSD. Actually, it's an NVMe PCI Express 4.0 SSD where this game is installed, and it's still stuttering like this, so... Ooh, it's dropping into the 50. You know what? Never mind. Don't use ray tracing in the Elden Ringers, because it's terrible. It looks good, honestly. The lighting was a lot better looking, but it drops from 60, and without it... GPU usage is much lower. The GPU also consumes a lot less power. It's at like 110 to 120 watts of power usage. And the graphics still look great. Anyway, let's try to kill this one. It's not gonna happen. I have never killed this dragon before. Here it comes. He's breathing out some fire for us. And not a problem. It will never drop from 60 FPS, I think. Unless you use RT, of course. Now we have Microsoft Flight Simulator at 1440p using DLAA and no frame generation at the moment, but I truly think that you should utilize it in this particular game. We're using the X12 Ultra Settings preset here, and I'm just gonna disable the motion blur. Alright, here we go. So as you can see, without the frame generation in place, we're already super CPU bound and we're already below 60 frames per second. Actually touching the lower 50s there. Probably in the city we would see like 40-ish frames per second. This is not good, okay? I mean, it's alright for a simulator title like this one, and you can still play it absolutely fine, but if you have the option to play this with much higher FPS, by enabling a single setting that doesn't really make too much of a difference in a game like this, I would take it. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Okay, here it is. Nvidia DLSS frame generation. Let's turn that on. Still using DLAA, no like DLSS quality or anything. This is native resolution with DLAA. And now look at those FPS. Like that is double the performance, like 2 times the performance of the native resolution without frame generation. And it does feel a heck of a lot smoother. All right, that was really close. And on top of that, it also stutters less whenever you have frame generation enabled. VRAM usage is also well under control at less than 10 gigabytes. GPU usage is still not maxed out. Even with frame generation, we couldn't really get rid of the CPU bottleneck in a game like this, but you know, it's to be expected. This is the actual world. 99% GPU usage in this area, still fluctuating a tiny bit, but now we're reaching the limits of the 4070. In one of the most GPU intensive areas, it still gets the same 100 frames per second. Now for the competitive title, I got Overwatch 2 over here at 2560 by 1440, 100% resolution scale, maximum frame rate is set to 600, and we're using the Ultra Settings preset. Alright, here we go, guys. Overwatch 2 is running like a breeze, my friends. It is so good in this game. Jesus. 260 FPS. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't make me a better Overwatch 2 player at all. I am terrible at this game. Still don't know why I choose to test it over other competitive shooters, but yeah. Well, today I actually have an excuse, because Valorant didn't work whatsoever. It was so stupid. Like, it told me to enable TPM, I had it enabled. It told me to enable Secure Boot, I have it enabled. I changed settings in the BIOS, disabled, enabled it again, nothing worked. It was just the worst thing, dude. Anyways, here we go. Ultimate, dropping slightly from 200 maybe, going by the 1% lows, but this is really awesome, guys. Like, super buttery smooth. Yeah, if you want to play these games at ultra settings, you definitely can with super high refresh rates, indeed. I still managed to play Valorant for about like 20 to 30 seconds, and here are the results. I got like 500, 600 FPS with a CPU bottleneck, so that's that. It would probably drop into like the 400s in more intensive scenarios with ultimates and stuff, but you know, it runs buttery smoothly, and it's never GPU bound at 1440p. Next is the 10-year-old GTA 5. It's still very popular, and we're playing at 1440p using 4 times MSAA maximum settings here, aside from post effects, which introduces motion, blah, and bloom, because I don't like those, you know. Anyways, these are turned on. This one isn't, because it's more of a CPU bound setting, and we are getting 100 plus frames per second. It's so smooth. Now, the thing with GTA 5 is you actually need to play it using max settings, basically, because otherwise, if you, for example, skimp on the... Jeez, what the heck? If you, for example, disable MSAA or set it to 2 times, it will get FPS so high that it will break the game engine with these cards. You actually need to play at max settings or lock the frames per second to like 144 or 120, so you are sure that the game will run buttery smoothly, because whenever you break the game engine, and that's when you get near like 188 frames, it starts stuttering. And it's not a good experience. Now, I hear you ask all of the time, why do you still include such an old title? Well, a lot of people still play it, that's why. And we get to see Jack and kill Bob and restore the balance in the universe. Balance. Anyways, it can still be super intensive, as you can see if you get to grassy areas with MSAA and ultra grass. Hello, Jack, how's it going? Maybe it will drop even into the 70s here near these bushes. Yeah, that's the case. 60s! Oh, sorry. It drops into the 60s and it gets a 69 1% lows. Goodbye, Bob. And it's conclusion time. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is now running right here while I talk about the 4070 for a bit. And, well, should you buy it? That's the real question, isn't it? Obviously, it's up to you. You've seen the results if you want to buy a $600 GPU, and if it actually comes out at MSRP tomorrow, it's actually quite worth it in my opinion. Yes, it is not really a true next-gen leap in performance compared to the 3070, unfortunately. Usually we'd see the 70 tier of the next generation beat or at least get really close in performance to the 80 Ti tier from the previous generation, which is now like the 90 Ti tier. And this time it only matches the RTX 3080 in performance. At least here in the EU, it costs less than the RTX 3080 or the RX 6800 XT when bought brand new. Of course, used, those GPUs might be a better deal. And it also consumes a lot less power than those cards while having DLSS 3 at the same time, which is a nice bonus, of course. That's it for this one. It's already way too big. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you tomorrow, hopefully. See you soon. Love you all. Bye-bye.